Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Bark Night podcast. I am your host, Patrick.
And I'm Dan.
So today we are talking about 28 years later. So both Dan and I saw this movie over the weekend. A lot of people out there went and saw this movie. So we're going to break down the movie. We're going to break down what everybody thinks of it, what we think of it, and what's next for this franchise.
Right. The long delayed sequel.
Yep. 28. Almost 28 years.
Almost.
Okay, so the plot of this movie is... it's... I'll go over some rough broad strokes of the plot. We're not going to jump into spoilers just yet here, so I'll keep this kind of vague.
Sure.
Because the trailers don't really give away whatsoever what this movie is actually about, which I think is a benefit of it.
I respect that.
Yeah. So the movie is kind of a coming-of-age story for the young boy that is in it, that is played by Alphie Williams.
Alphie Williams, yes.
And a big part of it is him fully seeing the world outside of their town. Mm-hmm. They are where he grew up is cut off from the rest of society on an island, and he basically hasn't seen any of the infected before. So the plot is him going out into the world with his father, learning about the ins and outs of the infection and what has happened to all of the UK, mm-hmm. and his relationship with his parents. And I mean, that's broad strokes of the story. That's it. Coming of age, learning more about the world, learning more about his relationship with his parents.
Yes, right. And I think we're safe to say that his mom's sick, and that adds extra tension onto his relationship with his father, and everything that you brought up about him trying to find his place in this society that, obviously, since it's been 28 years since the first movie happened in their universe, the world has changed. Like, this kid's grown up completely in the post 28 Days Later universe. So it's a different world than we saw in the previous movies, because it's established. It's years and years down the road.
Right. So the movie's directed by Danny Boyle,
mm-hmm.
who has famously directed many, many movies. He directed 28 Days Later, the movie that started this franchise. Right. He directed Sunshine.
Mm-hmm. Love Sunshine.
120. What's that?
I love Sunshine. I really do. I think it's an underrated movie.
Sunshine is great. Both of those have Cillian Murphy in them.
They do.
127 Hours, Slumdog Millionaire, Yesterday, Trainspotting, The Beach,
mm-hmm. and
A Life Less Ordinary. Have you seen A Life Less Ordinary?
Haven't seen that one, no.
So it's very good. I recommend you check that one out. It's got Ewan McGregor and I think Cameron Diaz, Delroy Lindo, Holly Hunter.
It's a good cast.
Little cast. It's a really, really funny, quirky, weird movie.
Sounds about right. Oscar winner for Slumdog Millionaire too. Best picture. Best director.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet, but
I saw when it first came out. I liked it, and it just kind of one of those things where, like, it's almost like a forgotten memory that you saw. You know, it's been so long. It kind of just you remember like slight little bits and pieces. You're like, but how did that get? You know, I'm sure I'm not the only person who has that. Like, you see a movie and then like you're like, oh, that was good, and then you just never go back to it.
Well, admittedly, that came out a long time ago now, it seems like.
Yeah, probably. Jeez. Probably like 2007, it's my guess. But anyway.
So, the movie's written by Alex Garland, who also wrote 28 Days Later, mm-hmm. Sunshine, and The Beach, which were all directed by Danny Boyle. He also wrote Dredd. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that, but that movie's great.
I didn't know that until I was looking through all this. He also wrote and directed Annihilation, Men, Civil War, and Warfare. I've seen mm-hmm. all of those except Warfare.
You should see Warfare. Warfare is very good.
Yeah, I plan on seeing it. It just hasn't come up yet.
They actually just sent me a notice that the Blu-ray is going to ship for me on the 6th of July. So.
Oh, nice! You did grab the Blu-ray?
I did. Yeah, I really like the movie, dude. I think you're going to like it.
Nice. I really liked Civil War.
I have to watch that still.
Men is probably the weirdest one out of all this. You've seen that?
I've seen that, and I bounced off that one pretty hard.
Yeah, that one. It gets very weird towards the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is both of their most recent collaboration. They didn't collaborate for many, many years because they had a disagreement over the third act of Sunshine, which a lot of people don't like the third act of Sunshine. I don't mind. So I will say, initially upon watching it, I didn't think it really fit with it. But over time, I've come to really appreciate the third act and the entire movie as a whole. And once, we've talked about this, like, as time passes, this movie's, I don't know, 15, 20 years old at this point.
No,
as
is it
time
really?
passes, these things, you come to terms with certain things about movies. Yeah, I want to say that one was made in, like, that 2007 era, too. Yeah, 2007.
Slumdog was 2008.
Yeah, so we're approaching this one being almost 20 years old now.
That's crazy.
But yeah, Alex Garland wrote a different ending for it, and Danny Boyle changed the ending, and they didn't speak with each other for a very long time. But they squashed the beef and got back together. And I think a big part of this, too, is that Alex Garland has said that he wants to slow down on directing movies. He actually said he was going to retire from directing.
Oh, really?
And then he said that after he did Warfare, he was going to retire, but he's already signed on for new projects, so I think he's just going to slow down on it.
Right.
But write more movies. So
good job, it didn't get it.
Yeah, I mean they're back together. They did this, and they're talking again, so that's great.
That is good.
Yeah. So it had a budget of $60 million.
That's what I saw too.
And box office wise, we had $30 million U.S. and Canada, $30 million international, bringing it right to 60. So boom, made its budget back. Now it's just got to make its, marketing budget back. So another $60 million to go, which I'd say at this rate, probably got a good chance of hitting that.
It's a great start. Yeah.
As long as they don't do something stupid like announce the Blu-ray for 2 weeks from now or something.
Change the movie title.
From a cast perspective, we've got Jodie Comer, we've got Aaron Taylor Johnson, we've got Ralph Fiennes, and we've got Alphie Williams.
Right, and you hear that cast, and you don't expect the movie to be carried by Alphie Williams, but it's very much his movie.
Yeah,
and he does a great job. I think he does a great job.
Yeah, he does a really, really good job. I think everybody in it is really good, but yeah, he's the constant through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other supporting characters only get like an act each, basically, to do everything that they do. But all of them do very well with the time they're given.
Especially Ralph Fiennes. Ralph Fiennes doesn't show up until the third act.
Yeah, and he is very good.
Oh, it's so good. As soon as he showed up, I'm like, I saw like the trailer, and I saw that character in the trailer, and I did not make the connection. Because I tried to avoid the trailers for this movie because I was excited for it. And I'm like, I don't need any more hype. And I saw the trailer, and I'm like, who's that character? He's weird. And then like the movie came, like he showed up in the movie. I'm like, oh crap, that's the guy from the trailer. I didn't even make the connection.
Yeah, and I think that it speaks to the quality of the script for this, that he was willing to come on for it, because I mean he's got a pretty good track record for choosing really good scripts. So
yeah, that guy's got quite the movie career. Look at his IMDb page if you want to find some good movies.
Yeah, and has he won an Oscar yet?
Schindler's List. I can check that while you keep going. Let me check that.
I feel like he hasn't, but he seems like one of those that it's just waiting to happen.
Matter of time. Yeah.
Which I don't think it'll be for this, but
No.
he was really good
in
Conclave last year.
Yeah, he was. I liked him in that movie. That movie overall I thought was but he was good in it.
Yeah. I liked the movie overall, but I definitely see how like it's like a political intrigue movie,
Right. Yep, 3-time Oscar nominee, no wins.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was nominated that same year that Tommy Lee Jones won.
Yep, he was. I mean, the Tommy Lee Jones role is definitely iconic, but that role in Schindler's List is almost. It's just so evil. They're like you almost. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's such a good evil character. And he also was nominated for Best Actor in Leading Role for The English Patient in 1997 and Conclave last year.
Yeah, so I just truly feel like it's only a matter of time until he gets it. It'll be really unfortunate if he never does, but
I'm sure he will.
Things do happen.
I'm sure
Adrian
he was.
Brody's out there walking around with 2 of them before Ray Fiennes gets any.
Oh, dude, I watch Predators.
Your favorite?
I just can't buy him in that role. I just can't. It ruins the whole movie for me.
Where are the Predators?
We got to get off this planet. The suns haven't moved since we've been here. Stop.
Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins, I know.
Yeah. Anyways,
maybe it was worse, I think.
So review-wise, this movie's got a 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb.
Solid.
On Rotten Tomatoes, we got an 89 for critics, a 65 for audiences.
Mm-hmm.
So critics are liking it. Audiences are like,
Yeah, and I know why.
Yeah. Metascore, 76.
Solid.
Pretty solid for
That's
Metascore.
Yeah.
And Cinema Score, it's got a B.
B, really? Well, then again, that's the whole thing I was going to get to. I left this movie knowing it was going to be divisive. I think that some people are going to go to the movie expecting one thing, and the movie's not really that, and then they're not going to be happy about that. They're expecting 20 Days Later just redone, kind of, with like a modern flair to it. But this is, as you said, a coming of age story, really, about this kid and how he's surviving in this world. So I knew there was going to be some backlash against that.
Well, and so, my thing about that is that I very recently watched 28 Days Later,
mm-hmm.
and I think people completely forget about portions of that movie. Like the second act of that movie, where it's like Cillian Murphy and the
Brendan
woman,
Gleeson.
Naomi Harris,
Yep.
And Brendan Gleeson and his daughter. And it's the whole second act is like them frolicking through the hillside and everything,
It's true. It's like a buddy cop movie without cops.
And like you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like The Sound of Music. Like it takes a break from the zombies apocalypse to have them going through the hill. They're like literally having a picnic in the hillside and everything. Yeah. Like all of that with like there's the whole scene with them like joyriding through the hills and everything. Yeah. And like people
you're
forget.
Right.
And so I think this matches the act structure and the general feel of the first one. I just think most people don't remember that.
I think that's a good takeaway.
But
because you see my point too, right?
Yeah, 100%. And we'll get to that in a moment here. And so Threads is very split. Very split. It's like one of those, like, this is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. There's a whole lot of that going on out there. And
reactionary.
Yeah. And for my part, I don't understand the extreme hate for it. Like that. Yeah. Like some of the things I've seen out there that people talking about this movie with, I'm like, that's pretty dramatic how much you hated this movie. But yeah, so that's where all of that lands. So let's jump into our reviews. And Dan, why don't you kick us off?
Right. So it's been dated on here before. I'm a big fan of 28 Days Later. I like 28 Weeks Later quite a bit too. You don't have to worry about that. If you're waiting to go see this movie, like with your significant other, and you want to have them watch 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later, you can skip weeks. It doesn't matter. They barely even reference it in this movie. So went into it. I was excited about it. About midway through, I kind of stopped and thought to myself, I'm like, this isn't what I expected, but I'm having a good time with it. So I enjoyed it. I don't think it knocked it out of the park as much as I wanted it to, but I liked it. Like, I think it's a solid, like, it's not quite the heights of 28 Days Later, but in my opinion, but I think it's a very solid movie. And like, it wasn't what I expected, but I was happy with what I saw. Does that make sense? Yeah. And the acting is fantastic. They add new zombie types to this, which some people might not like. I didn't have an issue with it, but I had a good time with it. I left it thinking, wow, that was very interesting. Choices were made there, and I'm excited to see where they go with this world in the next movie, which I also didn't expect that ending, but we'll get to that, I'm sure. So, like, I struggled with it a little bit. I left really liking the movie, and then I thought about it a little bit, and it went down a little bit in my estimation, but I still am a fan of it, I'll say. I still think it's a good time. I still think it's a good watch.
Okay. So for my review, I really liked it. So I went into it with, I think, very realistic expectations because I saw it Monday night. So I saw all the people tearing this thing apart over the weekend, and I was like, all right, well, I got to see this now. Like, I got to see what everybody's going on and on about. And I on one hand, I get it. Like, this is not the movie I think people signed up for. But excuse me,
it's good.
But it is a very good movie, and it absolutely, like, it makes some choices in it, just like you said, and I think it's better for that. They 100% could have played this extremely safe, you know, and given the audience probably exactly what they wanted, but Danny Boyle and Alex Garland are not going to do that.
That's not what they get.
They're not going to play it safe.
Placate. They got to placate to the audience. Yeah.
Right. They're not going to play it safe. They're not going to placate to the audience. They're not going to give you what you expect. They want people to be surprised. They want you to have feelings as you go through this. They want to have an emotional arc to it.
Right.
And so they do a lot of things to do that. And they do a lot of things to, you know, I think in Alex Garland's writing, a lot of times what he does is uses pieces in the story as metaphors for other things, and uses certain mechanisms to try and elicit certain emotions out of you. And, you know, you see that in all of his movies. So I think there's a lot of choices that are made here that are because of that, because of how he wants you to feel at certain parts of this movie. And I think not all the people, but I think many of the people that are upset with this are probably going to like this movie more in the long run.
That's good. That's a good takeaway. I agree with that.
I think that, like I said, emotionally, it does follow a lot of the... It's not that far off, you know, from emotionally and tonally from 28 Days Later, you know? I didn't watch 28 Weeks Later leading into this.
Yeah, need to.
I was like, I don't think I need to. And I was right. I didn't.
I think I told you you didn't need to.
Yeah. Yesterday, I was like, I still haven't watched this. And you were like, yeah, you don't need to. And yeah, what Alex Garland had said was, yeah, we're not going to contradict Weeks, but we're also not going to reference it.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, there were certain things.
There's some contradictions.
I was like, you might have contradicted it a little bit, like
just a tad. Yeah.
Because look, in the opening thing, it says, "Hold on, I'm getting echo."
Oh no!
I can't change that. It's okay. I'm not hearing it anymore. I think I was just being super loud.
Yeah. You like to do that sometimes.
In the opening text there, it talks about how far the disease spread. And it makes it seem like it never got out of the UK.
Right. Opposed to the end of 28 Weeks Later.
Yeah, exactly. And, well, Alex Garland had said, too, that in his eyes, it didn't spread because they nuked Paris. So maybe that's he said that in the press. He's like, as soon as it hit Paris, they nuked it, and that was the end of that.
My God.
Oh, okay.
I guess that answers the questions. Jesus.
That would have...
Wasn't expecting the nuclear option.
Yeah. Paris don't mess around.
Right. I mean, like, even like a little more broader, but like in 28 Weeks, they talk about how the infected die off from starvation at a certain point, and in this one, it's like, oh, they've been eating deer, and you're like, they didn't think about that before this point, you know?
What do you mean?
Like in 28 Weeks Later, they talk about how the infected have died off from starvation. That's why they're trying to repopulate. And then in this one, they're like, oh yeah, they're eating the deer to stay alive, and it's like, they didn't think about that until like months down the road, but maybe I'm just nitpicking there.
Yeah, I think that they don't really ever explain that, right?
They show like, oh, actually, were those dream sequences when they're eating the deer?
No, those were the Alpha and his crew.
That's right. Yeah, okay.
It's flashing to them.
Okay, that's right. All right.
Like, this is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my review. Let's really get into this. Let's get into the real spoilers of the movie. So first off, I want to talk about what the actual like structure of the movie is leading into the ending of it. I think that, that's kind of that's a big part of the conversation here. So Act 1, full spoilers, is the father-son journey and the beginning of the coming of age of him becoming a man.
Right.
And I mean, they really, really hammer home that this society is not a very healthy one, right? They're all surviving, but it is, I don't know, kind of like a cult type thing,
A bit. Like the hunters are kind of not like worshipped, but they're celebrated at least.
Yeah, and then the way, the celebration of masculinity and making him drink and everything, and like all of that is, I mean, they're really, really hammering home that like this isn't exactly a good society for him, and he probably doesn't want to grow up here.
He's 12 years old, and they're making him, like, as you said, drink after the successful expedition. So that doesn't paint a good picture.
They make him kill.
Yep.
They bring him back. They make him drink, and now he's a man.
Yeah. And there's things to be said there about that whole, as you said, toxic kind of masculinity imagery that they put in there. Sorry, but like you said, it's the coming of age. It's him and his dad out in the actual world, learning how to hunt these things. They go after the first of the new types of zombies. They introduce these bloated, kind of crawl on the ground, pudgy things that I guess are just kind of exist in the dirt and eat worms, from what I got from the movie.
Seems like it.
Yeah, they're kind of grotesque and just like, as I said, bloated, and they're there for like shock value, I think, or to be easy targets for him to get his first kill,
Yeah, and you know what they reminded me of? They reminded me of Left 4 Dead.
The bloater?
Yeah. Is that what they were called? The bloaters in that?
I think so, yeah. Unless I might be thinking of Dying Light zombie movies and they're exploding enemies, but
Well, that's in Left 4 Dead, yeah, they were like big fat zombies that exploded.
Yep.
So I think that was something they were trying to do with this, is expand that lore. So now there's different kinds of zombies.
Right.
And leaning into that. So one thing that Alex Garland or Danny Boyle, one of them, had said was they were talking about how they wish they had the residuals from Walking Dead and The Last of Us.
Okay, because of the running zombies.
Yeah, so they were like, man, so many of these things built off what we built. Like we really should start building out the lore of this.
Right.
And so I think that's a big part of what they were trying to do, and you can see that like it very much reminds me of like in Last of Us, how they've got the different kinds of zombies, or in Left 4 Dead, where they have the different kinds. And I think that's kind of what it is. And they don't give us a lot of information. Maybe they will in the next two movies.
I would think so. But yeah, you're right. Every zombie video game has different types of zombies, and they gave us two at least. I imagine they'll probably pop in one or two other ones because there's two more. Well, there's at least one more movie. But yeah, I think I agree with you on that they wanted to have more variety of threats.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I liked that they did that.
Yeah, it's interesting, and like how they did it. Like they did these I don't know. They didn't really call them any, did they? They just said that those ones are the ones that don't really move or something like that, right?
Yeah, I don't.
There wasn't a name given to them.
They gave them a name. They called the ones alphas, but I didn't. Yeah. I wasn't sure about the chubby guys.
Yeah, I don't know either. But yeah, they're there for a few scenes, and obviously they're there to be the first kill for the kid, and then before the whole excursion goes a little sideways, because showing up is, as Pat just mentioned, an alpha, the other new type of zombie or infected.
Yeah, and that was really cool. The way they did that really it made a very scary portion of the first act of this.
Right. The scariest, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah. So just the alphas they're just bigger, more aggressive, and they can coordinate the other zombies, or infected, I mean to say, sorry. And they also can take more damage to it, I think they said, right? Like he saw them take a bunch of arrows before they took one down. So it's a new threat. It's a new big time threat in a world that already exists with these rage infected fast zombies. Now you got these big boys that will mess you up, and they like to tear heads off things. Apparently, is their big thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and so a big part of building them up like that too is seeing them take out that entire crew of soldiers.
Right. A Swedish military team. You don't hear much about them. They just all of a sudden show up. Swedish Navy, thank you. They all of a sudden just show up because they said their ship crashed in the rocks and they were just trying to escape to some kind of safety, and they run across an Alpha who wrecks their whole crew.
Yeah, which is they're basically like cavemen.
Mm-hmm. The Alphas? Yeah. I didn't make that connection. That's good.
Yeah, so they it's not immediately clear how it all works, but they kind of glossed over it with like they said that like some people react to the virus by getting like spikes of testosterone.
They said it was like steroids. I'm like, okay, but sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like, and it's all you got to take everything with a grain of salt because it's coming from a kid who heard it from somebody who's basing it on a theory, and like so nobody really knows any of these things.
And we probably never will. They probably keep it vague like that. Just some people become these alphas.
Yep. But yeah, so that's Act 1 is basically all of that. Mm-hmm. Act 2 is where they go into the mother-son journey.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so it shifts considerably at this point.
Yes,
because the father-son journey it's very aggressive. It's about becoming a man. And it's about killing, and it's about, proving that you're a man and all these things. And the mother-son journey is not that. It's more about them learning about each other. It seems like the mom is kind of kept in her room at all times at the house. She doesn't get out too much, and there's a lot of confusion in her day-to-day life. And this trip kind of, being out into the open world, I think it kind of helps her a little bit. But a big part of this part of the movie is them learning about each other. And for him, it's him realizing, I think, how bad her sickness is. Like, he knows how bad it is, but now that it's just the two of them, he's really, like, realizing the symptoms of it and everything. And now that he's got to explain it to people out here, too, that he's meeting that are new. Because I bet in the town, people just don't ask him about it, right?
Well, of course not, no.
It's probably like a we don't talk about it type thing.
Kind of like Bruno, yes.
Yes. And so a big part of this journey is that. It's their relationship and him trying to get her to the doctor. And that's a big part of that part of it. And I think this part of the movie is where it kind of loses some people.
Yeah, because the father-son journey ends with a chase scene, and then a party, and then a big kind of blow up with the dad where the son decides, I don't want this kind of, I want to help my mom, and then it leads into the portion you're talking about.
Right, so I think it starts to lose people here, but it's it takes it a little bit slower, but it does have plenty of action in these moments. This is where you meet the soldiers. This is there are some chase scenes in here. There's the whole thing with the infected having the child, which I could see some people not digging that whole thing.
Yeah,
I didn't have any problem with it whatsoever. I did kind of think to myself, like, oh, look at another zombie having a baby. But it was interesting that they did it differently, where the baby is not born infected. And so you kind of wonder, how does that work? Like, how did this woman get pregnant in the first place? Like, how did all this happen? And we probably never get an explanation for that, other than, Rafe Fiennes being like, oh, that's the power of the placenta, and then it's like, okay, well, that's our explanation, I guess.
Right, and my girlfriend's a nurse, and I kind of brought that up to her, And she goes, yeah, the placenta has a barrier for the baby and all this stuff. And she's like, yeah, but like she's like, I'm like, but it still got born and there's still blood on it. And like the 28 days established, you get blood on you, you're donezo, you know. So that part, I mean, you got to kind of just swallow the what's the word here? Swallow the medicine there and just accept it, because I was like, that doesn't make sense. Wouldn't it be infected like immediately? But
yeah, I'm not entirely sure how all of that works, but you know, yeah, you just have to just kind of take some jumps and be like, well, we're going into this with very little information to understand anything.
Right.
And for all we know, this baby's immune. You know, we don't have any idea. I mean, it's been established that you can be immune in this universe. Maybe being born of two infected creates some sort of infected that we don't know.
Maybe that baby's blood will be a cure to the cure for the disease.
Yeah, that's certainly possible. Who knows?
But yeah, yes. I mean, it's one of those things. Like I could, as you said, I can definitely see people have an issue with that, but it didn't really bother me. Other than I'm like, well, there's definitely blood on that baby. That's the only thing I said. But you know.
Yeah. What do you think about when that soldier gets his head torn off?
When the big old Alpha officially introduces himself to the movie.
Yeah. So we get two heads torn off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was the first one?
In the mine or whatever.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I was referencing the train part. That's what you were talking about, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of referencing it in general. They both happen within, like, I don't know, 10 minutes of each other.
You're right. Yeah, it was, it's scary, and it's awesome, and it's a great way to establish the threat.
Right. The first one that happens in that mine, I was just like, oh my god!
Yeah, yeah, it's true. You're like, because, like, early in the movie, you saw, like an elk's head or a deer's head, like, smashed to a tree branch, and the dad goes, that's an alpha. And then you just don't really think, like, apparently that's their thing. That's what they do.
Yeah.
Because he does it to a soldier, he does it to another soldier. I think they do it to another deer at some point. There's head ripping going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that scene where he hops down in the train with the soldier's head, I'm like, that's pretty badass.
Yeah, that was a really, really cool scene. And the tension really picks up there as it's chasing them, too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I really dug that. I hope that they introduce new kinds of infected in the next one, because I really, like, we need, like, what do we need? We need a solid
spitters.
5, right? Yeah, spitters, man. But that would be...
What are the classic tropes? You got the big fat exploding ones we mentioned. You got the fast ones. You got the slow ones. You got the big brutes, which are the alphas, I guess. You got the ones that jump on you, the jockeys. Those could be something. You got the spitters. You got the witches. I don't know if you can really do that, but that'd be terrifying. That'd be absolutely terrifying. These are all Left 4 Dead zombies, by the way, I'm going off of, just in case people don't know.
The witches are terrifying.
Could you imagine if they pull that off?
I would love that. Go for it. Why not?
Send a check to Valve and be like, thank you.
Man, this makes me miss playing Left 4 Dead so much.
Mm-hmm. It's too bad that Back 4 Blood that Back 4 Blood game is apparently terrible. We should have tried it more, but...
I never played it at all.
Who did I play it with? I played with Adam for like 10 minutes, I think, and then never went back to it.
You're like, hey, this isn't bad. Never played it again.
Yep. And there's $25 down the drain again.
Yeah. So then all of this leads into Act 3. Mm-hmm. Now, this act, I think, is where they really lost a lot of people, because, I mean, kind of everything comes to a screeching halt, but it's not for lack of nothing happening, right?
Yeah.
So they meet the doctor. You meet this cool area he has set up. This dude kind of seems like he's building this bone temple is his. I assume this is the bone temple. This is the bone temple, right?
Gotta be, right? Yeah. What else could it be?
Like, yeah. So I think it's his, like, coping mechanism for all of this.
Oh, sure.
And he seemed like you thought he would be completely insane, and it turns out he's not. He seems absolutely sane, and he's certainly weird, and all that. But the big thing about this act now is the mother and the son both fully coming to terms with her sickness and it's kind of him crossing the threshold of becoming a man, of becoming an adult. He loses his mother, and he's got to come to terms with that now, and that leads to him deciding not to go back to the town and to just kind of roam the countryside and get to know the land and be like, just find his own way.
Right. He says he wants to walk till he can't see water. I think that was his thing. He mentioned that 2 times. I'm with you on that. I think, as you said, first act was very much the dad and him, then the mom and him. And I can see people kind of, if you didn't like the mom and him part, the third act will absolutely, I think you're right. I think it'll lose you because it's it's still them, but it's the conclusion of their story without really much infected action going on. It's just them and Ralph Fiennes. I wish I remember the name of the character. It was something like Dr. So it was memorable, but for some reason it's skipping my mind. And he's like, his character's great. Like, he's obviously lived out in this world since like the beginning, just by himself, making this temple to honor the dead, we'll say. And yeah, he's great. He covers himself in iodine because I guess it helps or something. I didn't really catch that part. That's why he likes oranges.
Iodine is supposed to protect you from those sorts of things, right? Whenever you donate blood, they always rub iodine.
That's true. Yeah.
On your skin,
That's true.
Dr. Kelson is his name.
Kelson, not as catchy as I remember, but that's all right. Doctor. But yeah, he's had this whole like world pretty much figured out. He's got his bone temple. He's got his little rope bridge to get there. He's got darts full of like quick acting poison to shut down the Alpha. Like, the guy just kind of went into a catatonic state and they left him there. Which, I mean, maybe you should kill it when it's at that state, but whatever. And then
I think that's his whole thing, is he's learned to live with the infected.
Oh, you're right.
So I don't think he sees them as a threat. Like, I mean, like he said, he doesn't get too close to them, but he's kind of learned to coexist with them.
Right. Yeah, he definitely lives among them, goes out and goes searching for people to add to his bone temple. And it's just a tough word to say. And like, yeah, his character's great, the actor's great, and you almost like, there's a hilarious scene early in the movie where the dad, Aaron Taylor Johnson, talks about how they came across him one day and he had this whole field of bodies, and when he looked down at him, it was like he wanted us to come down there. I'm like, yeah, he wanted you to come down there and help him. And like, they're like, oh, he's a crazy person, but he just was very much like not crazy. So it's just funny, like, when you think about that scene afterwards, you're like, no, he's just like, yeah, come on down, come hang out.
Yeah, well, and I think that just shows kind of how close-minded the father is.
Right.
He's not accepting of anything except what he has learned.
Right. Yeah.
Which at this point, it's kind of one of the points of the movie is that anybody that was a kid in the real world, and then they got like that small slice of being a kid, but then grew up in the pandemic, like, it has some serious impacts on them. And I think that's a big part of it for his character, is that he's grown up in this world where it's all about, it's all about building your masculinity,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Being a soldier.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that they did what they needed to do with this story in order to make it a good story. You know what I mean? Like, they truly set it up to have like an emotional arc to it. And by doing that, you've got people that will connect with that, and you've got people that won't.
Bounce off it hard,
if somebody wanted to come in and they were looking for, a big bad at the end of this story, who is the, an infected that's grown into I have no idea.
Like a tank.
Yeah, I think that's what some people were expecting, like some sort of big bad infected or something at the end of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's not really a villain in this movie, right?
No, the Alpha, I guess, to an extent, but he's just like a force of nature more than anything.
Yeah.
The dad's not really a bad guy. He's just, as you said, very much in the throes of the society that he lives in, or he's been a part of for so long. Definitely
Right.
not the mom. Definitely not Ralph Fiennes. The kid's great. He's not a bad guy either, other than he does burn down their one shop, which I think is a bit of a dick move, but that's life.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Like I was looking at that too, and I was like, is that the medical building? Like,
well, it was, yeah.
did you just burn down the hospital? Like,
Yeah, you burnt down like their main store, yeah. It's like you could have burned something else up, kid.
right, like the outhouse or something. I don't
Something,
know.
yeah. Maybe not the place that has all your supply for your entire village, but whatever.
Yeah,
He's a dumb kid.
but
You know what to do.
yeah, they set it up so that it really is more of an emotional story than it's a story with the zombie apocalypse as the backdrop to
Right.
it, right?
100%.
They're just trying to survive in this world, but there's the emotional arc of it is somewhat separate than that.
Mm-hmm.
That's all sort of background noise. And I think a big part of this entire story is him, the young boy, sort of realizing that his parents aren't perfect.
Nope. Yeah.
They're not perfect. This society he's grown up in isn't perfect. And he kind of struggles with that, right? So he's got to learn to accept his mother
Mm-hmm.
and her sickness. And unfortunately, the way he comes to have to accept that is by just accepting her fate.
Right.
He's got to come to terms with these things with his father. And he didn't. He didn't come to terms with those things with his father. That's definitely something that's going to be saved for either the second or the third one. And I think it's going to be something that he comes to terms with by the third one.
Right? By the third, yeah.
That's the thing that he's going to come to terms with in the end. And that kind of brings us to the stinger of the movie, right? Jack O'Connell's character.
Right.
And so let's talk about this for a second. The moment this happened, so you have an entire movie, it's 2 hours long, and the last 1 minute of it are so head-scratchingly out of left field that I had no idea, truly no idea what to think for the longest time. Yeah. The entire ride home, it's like a 20-minute ride for me. I'm just sitting there just like, what the hell was that?
They went for that, yeah. You want to know what scene it reminded me of? Anchorman, when like they have like the fights and like all these random people show up. That kind of got those vibes from that. Like,
you know what it reminded me of? Cabin Fever.
Oh my gosh!
With the mullet is
does
like
karate?
doing the karate, and it's like he's like flipping and jumping and doing like spin kicks and everything.
Yeah. So as Pat said, Jack O'Connell, who was just recently in Sinners, fantastic in that. He shows at the very end as a character called Jimmy, who over the course of the movie you see the name Jimmy like written on a building. You see it written on a hung up infected that they left there, or wasn't infected when they left him there. Through the movie, it's like this little, like, I don't want to say Easter egg, but it's part of the world, we'll say. And you just kind of, it's there. You don't really expect anything of it. And then at the very end, he's like, I'm Jimmy. And you're like, oh. And then, like, he's got, like, a whole team of people who are dressed flamboyantly. And I don't know if they all had blonde wigs on. It seemed like they did. But yeah, it's this crew that meets up with the kid at the very end after he gets into a spot of trouble towards the very end. But they come flipping on the screen, like literally flipping on the screen, and you're like, what the hell was that?
Yeah. I will say, so a lot of people take extreme issue with this. And I still don't know how I feel about it. I think I only know how I feel about it once I see the sequel, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because to me, what it reminded me of is when you're watching The Walking Dead, back when I watched The Walking Dead.
Sure.
And you are there for an entire season, and then right at the last minute, everything gets resolved for the season. And then in the last 30 seconds of the episode, they introduce somebody.
Right.
And usually it's in a big, crazy way, because they're actually basing it on a comic book where they're like, oh, let's recreate this comic cover or this scene from the comic or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And then they leave you with that. And then people are talking, people are guessing, all these things until, 10 months later or whatever, when the story picks back up again. And it really, to me, felt like that's what they were going for with this, is like, let's introduce these guys in a big way and then just leave them with that.
Right. So I had to correct myself. I said he introduced himself as Jimmy. Everyone in the crew is a Jimmy.
Yes.
So I apologize, but he does introduce himself as Jimmy, but they're all Jimmy. So it's a gang. It's a roving, I don't know, but better word than gang. It's a gang. And there's Erin Kellyman is one of them. Apparently, I didn't see her in the movie, but she was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier as the main flag smasher girl. She was apparently there. I didn't see her, so there's no way. I mean, obviously, the sequel, which is going to come out in January, they said. I think it's the big setup for the next movie, but it just was a bit daft.
Yeah. So one thing with it is, tell me your thoughts about it. I've talked a lot about it.
Yeah, I think that's what I said. Like I'm with you. Like movie started, the first act I was into. Second act wasn't what I was expecting, but I got on board quickly with it. Enjoyed the crap out of it. Enjoyed the third act. It was slower and stuff. And then just to get hit with this random scene, it made me want to see the sequel immediately because I want an explanation. I want to know what's going on here. Because it was a bit much, I would say, but it all depends on the next movie how that scene lasts. Does that make any sense? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And so one part of this to consider too is this is the little boy from the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, that's true.
So it starts with him, it ends with him. I do think it would have been best served as a mid-credits scene.
Yep.
You don't have to save it for the end credits, thinking people are gonna do that, but save it for the mid-credits scene and make sure there's enough time for everybody to fully settle in to how they feel. And it doesn't even have to be a long mid-credits. It doesn't even have to be as long as Sinners was, before their mid-credits scene. But give everybody a little bit of break to let the emotional impact of that
what
part
you just
of the
saw
story soak in before this.
Right. Because
That's the only thing I think it would have been better served that way.
Yeah. Because, as you said, the kid goes home, drops off the baby, says, I'm not coming back. I want to see the world without water or whatever. Something along those lines. And you said it's emotional. It's like, wow, that was not what I expected from this movie. And then you get the random flippies and weird-ass mullets, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah. So one thing about that, too, is did you read who that's based on? Their outfits, who they're based on.
Oh, my gosh. No, I think I did. Go ahead. I can't remember.
So there was this guy named Jimmy Savile who was like a big celebrity in the UK during, I think, the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
And he dressed like that, very flashy. He had a show called, like, Jimmy'll Fix It or something like that.
Okay.
And right around the time the first movie came out, it was revealed that he was, like, an evil person. He was, like, a predator, like a sexual predator, possibly a pedophile, like...
Jesus.
Like, all these super terrible things. And basically what they're insinuating is that in this universe, this group, this gang, is... They never knew that he became evil.
Okay.
So they've based their entire personality off of him. And I think that's supposed to be a metaphor for the fact that, like, they're hiding their evil as well.
Right.
And so it kind of falls flat on U.S. audiences who don't know who that guy is. Everybody in the UK apparently immediately realized what they were going for there, but
deep cut for our British audience.
Yeah, and apparently a lot of them hated that too,
really?
because
he's such a piece of garbage.
Because he's like such a truly evil dude that they were like, you shouldn't even talk about him, right?
Leave him to the history, so no one talks about it, kind of thing, right?
Right. But I mean, I don't have any connection to that history, so it is what it is to me. But I think my main feelings about how I'm going to feel about that characterization, about how I feel about their group, all of that, it really is going to depend on how good the sequel is and how they treat it. And I don't know if this Jimmy guy is the bad guy for that, or if he's the bad guy for the entire trilogy. I have no idea. But I think what this is going to kind of lead to is our character here, the young boy, Alphie Williams, him falling in with this group.
Right.
And once again realizing sort of how evil some people in the world really are.
Right.
Because
he thinks his dad's evil right now.
He thinks his dad's evil right now. He's about to find out what real evil is, right?
Spike's his name in the movie. I couldn't remember it either.
Spike, yeah. How could I never remember that?
Yeah, Spike, you think that would stick.
I do recall that now. Yeah, thank you.
No.
So, yeah, I think that's going to be a big part of this next movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is realizing, how easy it is to become evil, how evil one can be.
Right.
I would imagine he's probably going to have some conflicted feelings. He's probably going to be getting involved in things he shouldn't be, and that's going to lead to some sort of falling out with this group with him as well. So.
Right. And as you said, we already kind of speculated that the next movie will be him and his dad kind of mending fences, or at least coming to an understanding about each other. And that probably, once he sees this Jimmy group and how evil they are, it'd probably be a big part of the story, is what I'm guessing. If we're right about that, which I feel like it feels dead on, but we've been wrong before.
I wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Taylor Johnson isn't in the next movie and he only comes back till the third.
Oh geez, you're right, probably. That would make sense.
And I had kind of seen something mentioned in the media where he had kind of alluded to. There was an interview I saw with Aaron Taylor Johnson, Jodie Comer, and Alphie Williams, and the interviewer asked them how sad they would be if the third movie doesn't get made. And it was funny because I saw this after I saw the movie, and Jodie Comer, just seeing her just jokingly struggle through giving a shit because she's not going to be in it, right?
No, she's not. Maybe a flashback.
Just very much tell she was like, oh yeah, I'd be so worried about that. It was almost comical. And then Aaron Taylor Johnson gave his answer, and he gave a more thoughtful and nuanced answer, but he also said that oh yeah, and Alphie Williams just went and shot the sequel, and so I'll be back for the third.
Okay. So looks like the second one's gonna.
I don't think he said it as straightforward as that, but he more or less that's the way I read what he said.
Okay, that would check though. So because you really do need to have the kid experience life as a Jimmy.
Yeah, life as a Jimmy shouldn't be so tough.
Nope, Jimmy's got a roof.
Yep. So yeah, I think that the next movie is going to be him and this group and all of that, and whether they wrap up the everything there, who knows with the Jimmys, Mm-hmm. I think there is a world where they don't go into the third one, but they also said that Cillian Murphy is going to appear in the next one and then have a large role in the third one. So
one could say that in 28 Days Later, what was his name?
It was Jim.
It's Jim. Is he the lead Jimmy?
Could be.
This is Jimmy Jim.
Yeah. But it said that the Alpha Zombie is going to be in the next one.
Yeah.
And it seems Jack O'Connell will be in the next one. Alphie Williams will be in the next one. What else do we know about the next one? Nia DaCosta is directing it.
I don't really know much about it other than it's the Bone Temple.
The Bone Temple. Ralph Fiennes supposed to be in it again.
Yeah, okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Erin Kellyman, I'm sure she's in it. You want to have her just show up at the end there and to not be in it as a Jimmy.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have a lot of information on this here yet.
But it's not far off.
All that's listed. It comes out in January.
That's crazy, isn't it?
They shot both of these already. The filming's already completed on it, so that they could do this. And how well the second one does depends on if they'll do the third one. Which that's kind of frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Because that means we're not getting the third one until probably
3 years.
End of 26, early 27, probably. So yeah, I would say we're probably a good 2 years away from it.
Right, and we talked recently about how frustrating it is to have like an incomplete story, but you've already said it's made back its budget. Hopefully it keeps going. Hopefully it gets some legs to it and has a good summer run. And then, as you said, the second one does the same in January. Then we get that third one.
And I think this is a good example, though, because of those trilogies. This does feel like a complete story, right? It has a first, second, and third act. He's got an arc in it. The arc is completed, and he'll have an arc in the next one. And that's, we've kind of talked about what we think that arc is going to be.
Right. But
it is complete. You didn't get half an arc.
Oh, you're right. You're right. It's not like you left with the mom and they cut up there. Yeah.
Yeah. This is. I guess it'd be the story of it's his coming of age story and him coming to terms with his relationship with his parents.
Yeah.
And we get that fully with his mom, but with his father, I think that's the long-term arc that we're going to get.
100%.
But if this movie never got a sequel and this was all we got, it would still be a good movie, right?
Yes. I would be so mad about not the whole Jimmy thing, but that's just because I just saw it and it's still very fresh in my brain, and it's the last thing you see, so that's what you remember first before you go back and think about the rest of the movie.
Right.
But yeah, it's I think worth your time. Not exactly like the other two movies. It's not like a straight high octane zombie survival movie. It's a bit more, as you said, family oriented than that, which the trailers are very vague, which I like. And I could see why some people don't like it, as I said, but I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it too. I think it's going to be pretty high on my list for the year. All right.
As high as that Bone Temple?
That's next year. What do you think about the editing?
Couple things I didn't love. At the very beginning, they had like headshots done like House of the Dead style, and I didn't love those. But they got away from those as the movie went on. But that could also have been them trying to show like masculinity, brains, kind of. But other than that, I like the editing. But yeah, those scenes I'm talking about, like the headshots
when they get shot and then it like freeze frames for a moment.
Yeah, like Matrix / House of the Dead kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one that kept popping in my head. Remember House of the Dead?
I didn't love that. I don't remember House of the Dead. I remember that it exists, but I've mostly just scrubbed that from my brain.
It had a lot of scenes like that where like they shoot a gun and then like spin around and be the front end, and shoot the gun again and spin around again the other way. It's like, and that was pretty much exactly what they did there. But yeah, those scenes bugged me at the time. Didn't like those. There's a couple scenes at the very beginning, like it looks really grainy. I know they're trying to create the 28 Days Later level of grit and such for the world, but after like the first little outing there with his dad, I think it kind of switches into more cohesive editing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't like the freeze frame headshot things that they were doing. I was like, yeah, I could do without this right now. Just kind of seems like the digital version of the projector is freezing or something.
Yeah.
But I did like the way they were like interspersing like the old footage into it. I thought that was a really cool effect, and I liked that they used that with the music from the trailer to really like make it part of the movie. Yeah, boots. Yeah. And so yeah, I thought that stuff was really interesting how they did that. But yeah, overall really liked the movie. Definitely gonna watch the sequel, and we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah, it's not what you expect, but it was a good time.
Yeah,
and sometimes it's better to get not what you expect. Like if it would have been exactly like 28 Days Later, we'd been like, yeah, it's fine, whatever.
Yeah, but why do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like why do it?
Then we just end up with another Anchorman 2.
Don't speak it about that.
Yeah,
Zoolander 2. You don't say that. Zombieland
Okay.
2.
Let's jump into the news.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so first piece of news I wanted to talk about is Tom Cruise. It's been announced that he's going to receive an honorary Oscar. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I made a face, but I don't dislike Tom Cruise. My mom hates him, so I kind of grew up with a dislike for him, but me, myself, a free-thinking adult, I don't mind him.
Yeah. I mean,
he's done enough to
there's no
get...
denying that,
Yeah.
you know, he loves cinema, and he loves movies, and he loves making movies, and he loves popcorn.
It's true. It is funny that they're going to put the best stunt Oscar into the Oscars. Probably too old for Tom Cruise. Old bones to get one of those. So, like, let's give him an honorary one so he doesn't try. we don't need 80-year-old him.
Impossible would be up for it if he...
I don't think they have it this year. I think it's next year it comes in.
As in the show they're due in, like, February of 26?
I think 27. But I might be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you never know. I mean, he did some crazy stunts in this movie this year.
Yeah.
Why not next year?
It's true. He gets an honorary, then he gets an actual. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened? I'm sure it's happened.
I don't know.
That'd be a fun one to Google. Tell us in the comments.
Yeah. Another thing. This is so funny. I don't even remember putting this in here. Will Smith revealed in a recent interview that he turned down a lead role in Inception, meaning he's now turned down more good roles than he's taken.
Yeah.
Some other notable roles being Django Unchained and The Matrix.
Right. And we joked about this. He might just be an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to say that, but he might have just grown up like in Hollywood and just not have any common sense or ability to make a decision that's not too obvious. You know what I mean? Like,
well, you know what they say, like,
yeah.
Fool me once.
Shame on you.
Fool me
twice. Shame on me.
You can't fool me twice.
Can't fool me twice. I mean, think about it, like Django Unchained. That's Tarantino. People are jumping out windows to work with Tarantino, and Will Smith's just like, nah, I'm good. Yeah. Or Inception. Christopher.
He probably thought to himself, nah, I'll just ruin that movie.
He's fallen so far, hasn't he? Christopher Nolan. People are jumping out windows to work with that guy, and he's like, nah, I'm good. Come on,
man. How do you say no to Inception after learning the lesson with The Matrix, right?
You can't. Like,
it's the same. You made the same mistake again.
Yeah, I don't understand it. You know what? You don't have to sometimes. Just go there and take the movie. Well, then again, you do get Sean Connery in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen sometimes, where he said he didn't do Lord of the Rings because he thought it was too like poppy. So then he did League of Extraordinary Gentlemen because he thought he'd learned his mistake, and then he immediately retired from acting.
Yeah, maybe that's what Will Smith was thinking about.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you sent me that video of his new song, and I couldn't believe it was real. I thought it was fake.
It's so bad, isn't it?
I thought it was fake. I thought it was him having a laugh at himself, but no, it's real.
There was a video that I just saw earlier where he's like standing in the middle of like this giant crowd in some city, and he's like singing the song, and nobody around him is into it. They're all just standing there with their phones out, like, "Hey, look, it's Will Smith having a midlife crisis before our eyes."
Just spiraling down. I hope he figures it out. I hope he comes back.
Yeah. What
is his last remaining like big franchise he can try to pull out to get people back on his side? Bad Boys. I thought they already did Bad Boys since he had the slap incident.
Yeah, and it did well. So he's just gonna keep pumping those out.
You don't think he'll try to pull out a Men in Black or an Independence Day with him in it?
I think he might if the next Bad Boys doesn't do well.
That's true.
But it's like Vin Diesel, you know, he had other franchises other than the Fast and the Furious, but that kept hitting, so he kept doing that.
Yeah.
You know, once that stops making money, boom, we're gonna see a Pitch Black sequel out there.
I mean, he still makes a lot of money for Groot, so.
Yeah.
Talk about easy money, jeez.
Yeah.
Groot. Give me the money. I can do it.
Yeah.
Recast Vin Diesel right here.
All right, next piece of news. Did you see the trailer for Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, you didn't? It actually looks pretty good. It is directed by Scott Cooper, who did Crazy Heart, Hostels, Out of the Furnace, The Pale Blue Eye, and Antlers. Yeah, so he's got some pretty good movies under his belt. It's got Jeremy Allen White in it. It's got Paul Walter Hauser. It's got Jeremy Strong and Mark Maron.
Mark Maron, huh? Okay.
Yeah. So it looks pretty darn good, and I think I'm going to check it out.
Nice. I haven't seen that. What was it called again?
Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. So Jeremy Allen White, the guy from The Bear, is playing Bruce Springsteen.
You know, I never really got into Springsteen, but I respect him.
So I listened to his album. I think the album's called Born to Run.
That's his big one, yeah.
And that's a really good album. Really solid album. It's got a lot of good hits on it. You know what I remember? Back when I was a kid, I've probably told you about this before. Coach Kryzak used to, at the old school, that is like not a school anymore, he would play the record where it has Born to Run on it, and he would just have it on repeat. And he'd make everybody run around the gym to the song Born to Run, and I couldn't listen to the song for the longest time because of that. And actually now I usually skip over it still, but the rest of the album is still very good. But like he basically actively ruined that song for many kids.
Could you imagine trying
to be able to listen to that without thinking of that ever again? That was 30 years ago. Like,
trying to get that to fly nowadays though. Like, our gym teacher made us run to this song by Bruce Springsteen as he played on the radio. Like, I don't understand. Some parent would get PO'd about that, I'm sure. My kid only listens to Mystical. Watch yourself.
Danger.
That's a reference. That is a reference. It came out of nowhere. But yeah. That's
My kids only listen to Mystical. Mystical got in trouble soon, too. Don't look into that if you don't want to ruin him for your...
I don't really care. It's just a funny reference.
You're like, I swear, I don't listen to Mystical.
Slowly hides vinyl record.
One funny thing that happened is after I did this, I had seen that Bruce Springsteen had said that he has a metal version, not metal, but electric version of his acoustic album called Nebraska. And so I had never listened to this album, so I listened to it, and A, very good album, highly recommend it. But B, halfway into this album, a song starts playing, and that song is Atlantic City.
Really?
And I had no idea that Bruce Springsteen originally wrote the song.
There's a lot of City. Yeah, there's a lot of songs from that era that you don't know he wrote. He wrote that. He wrote that. Revved up like a deuce, another roller in the night. He wrote that. He wrote Thank you. That's the part people would probably get. He wrote Ghost of Tom Joad. Obviously, they Rage Against the Machine covered. Like, he wrote. Oh, he was kind of prolific. So there's a lot of songs out there like that. But yeah, that's cool. How was his rendition of that? Because I loved the band version. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the band wrote it, but I guess not. It's funny too because it's like their biggest song. Right. I'd be willing to bet. I'm probably wrong about that, and somebody else is going to be like, well, you know, actually, their biggest song is Tommy Watkins on the Fiddle. No.
It's a good song. It makes sense, though. Like, Atlantic City's in Jersey, of course, Springsteen's going to sing about it.
Right. But, yeah, it's good. It's really good. It's slower. Right. That's probably why. It like, almost sounds, like, kind of sad when he sings it, whereas the other one's like, hey, I'm going to Atlantic City and having a good time.
And if you listen to the lyrics, you're like, ooh, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you listen to this version, and you're like, he is not having a good time.
He's not having a good time with this. Okay.
But, yeah, check that album out. It's pretty good.
I will.
Check that trailer out.
You got more for the news? Because I do have one thing for you I wanted to check in on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you watch the trailer for The Toxic Avenger?
I didn't.
No. That movie looks like it's going to be an absolute ridiculous mess, and I'm kind of here for it.
I did see one like fake thing that was like it was like a fake trailer that was created for the movie. That was like a trailer for Elijah Wood's band. Yeah, I saw that.
He's definitely in the movie.
Yeah, he looks like something else in it too.
Yeah, Higgs in it. Kevin Bacon's in it. Obviously Peter Dinklage starring. Watched the trailer, and thought, I'm in, and it's got this whole thing like where like. Someone said the movie was unreleasable, so it's going to have that level of support behind it when it does get released. You know, the whole, like, oh, we were supposed to see this kind of thing that people do. So I wouldn't be surprised if that one's a surprise hit when it comes out.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing that. Yeah, I think one of the things is the production company had said, like, they have just no idea how to market this movie.
Right. So they went with unreleasable.
Yeah. So they led with piece of crap. No.
It's a bold strategy, Con.
Yeah. But no, I haven't seen that. I'll have to check that out.
You should.
Does it look good?
Not really, but as I said, I'm here for it. So.
Well, let's see what happens then. You watched the new trailer for Weapons?
Did. That movie. High on my list to see now. Like it's gonna be. I have good feeling about that movie.
Yeah, me too. I will say, kind of gave away a lot in this trailer, I feel like. So if somebody hasn't seen this trailer and you already really want to see the movie, maybe just, skip this one and go watch the movie.
The first trailer didn't give away a lot, but gave you the basic idea. So, yeah, as Pat said, if that one hooked you, there's no need to watch this one. Go to the movie with knowing as little as possible is good, and I think for something like this.
Yeah. Now, if you did watch the trailer, I'm going to spoil one thing in it right now. Things are not going very well for Benedict Wong in this trailer.
They're not.
He looks terrifying.
It's exciting to see him.
All right, do you have anything else?
One thing, I popped up, not sure how I found it, but apparently there's going to be in July, a Shudder movie starring Julie Benz, where she plays a scream queen who gets menaced by a killer from one of her movies at a convention, and I'm like, that sounds very interesting. So
yeah,
it's called Horrified, which is a generic ass title, but those happen sometimes. And I saw it, I'm like, I'm into that. I kind of want to see that movie. It seems like a good idea for a slasher movie.
Did they release a trailer for it yet?
No trailer for it yet. They just had do a couple interviews. I saw the interview, and I didn't see a trailer yet, but I'm sure it's coming. And I want to keep my eye out for that one.
Yeah, that's cool to see her back to doing some cool stuff like that. I haven't seen her in anything lately.
I'm trying to think the last thing I saw her. That weird Boondocks Saints remake, but that was sequel, but that was a long time ago.
That is a movie.
Exists.
It exists. Man, I did, now that you mentioned that, I did see that during the promotion for Ballerina, the guy there from Boondock Saints.
Norman
Reedus, thank you. He had said that they have a script for the third movie already and that they're working on getting it made.
Hope it happens. I would like them to redeem the franchise a little bit after the second one. The second one wasn't a good movie. Sorry. If you like it, that's well, like it, but I did not.
Yeah. It's just it does that thing where they're just redoing the scenes from the first movie. Just now the actors are older, right? Yeah.
It loses its what's the word here? Impact when you've already seen it. Yeah. Which is probably the reason why 28 years later, you like, because it's not what you've seen before.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate too, because it seems like the movie they set up at the end of that, when Willem Dafoe meets with Julie Benz, that seems like a better movie than the one they gave us.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, oh wait, do you have like a secret society of vigilantes?
Give
us that.
Yeah.
Like, give us that now instead of what you just gave us.
No,
instead of them just doing it again with they basically did like a made-for-TV remake of the first movie instead of giving us an accurate sequel. Just give us the thing you just teased. Yeah. Just do that.
Yeah, as he says, it's like, we got an idea for a movie. We'll do the first one again, but we'll set up this really cool sequel. People are going to love it, and people are just like, that movie sucked.
Yeah, the first one's an all-time classic, though.
The first one is. If you haven't seen Boondocks Saints, that's definitely worth your time.
Yeah, love that movie. I used to watch that every St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. Should be a tradition you bring back up.
Maybe I will. All right, you got anything else?
No, my friend, I think that was it.
All right, cool. Well, let's wrap it up there. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Daniel, thank you for joining.
Of course.
And next week, we are actually doing a movie trivia night. So it'll be me and Dan, and we have a secret guest host that will be running the trivia, and then possibly a couple other people joining to make it a teamed game. So please join us for that. And if you want to be notified of all these things that are happening, subscribe.
Oh, and also this Saturday I'm going to be on Cinematic Nightmares podcast doing the shark movie trivia with them.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you have a good time. You
I
know,
should,
I had
yeah,
a
it'll be fun.
really fun time when I did the Horror Jeopardy
Yeah.
with them. So, yeah, good luck.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that.
All right. We'll see you all next week.